Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of Survival Wild with me, Dan. So last year, very interesting year, 2020. 2021 is looking pretty much the same. And what am I talking about? I'm saying last year, the amount of people that went camping, and particularly for the first time, rose dramatically. I don't know what the percentages were, but it was big. And this year is predicted to be even bigger, with more people staying and holidaying at home. Hard word for me to pronounce for some reason. So I thought I would share with you my top tips for camping here in the UK, and take this to a lot of countries, to be fair. Some of it's going to be just camping, and then more specifically wild camping. So if you're new to camping, or and you're thinking about taking it up this year, there's a lot to think about. There's all the kit, where to go, how many nights am I taking, my family, my dog, all that type of thing. So my first tip would be work within your budget when it comes to buying new kit. Buy the best you can afford. That would be my first tip. And you can do loads of research. There's loads of forums on there. People will have, most people in the outdoor community are very happy to share their experiences with pieces of kit. I do occasional reviews. I don't particularly like doing reviews, but there's plenty of review channels out there that do them. But take the advice from somebody who's used the kit for a while, not that they've just unboxed it. So that would be my first tip. Now when it comes to buying kit, obviously there's the basics: the tent, sleeping bag, sleeping mats, cooking pots, stoves, all those kinds of things. The main things that you want to be concentrating on is first and foremost your shelter, then your sleep system, and then your cook system. Now you can buy a tent pretty cheap here in the UK. You can even go to Tesco's and get, I'm not going to say it's a very good tent, but you can get one that's going to, if the weather's fine, a bit of drizzle, that sort of thing, you're going to be okay. It's when you start getting into a bit more, when the weather gets a little wetter, then you want to consider the rating of the wet weather rating for the tent. So probably the most important piece of kit that you are ever going to buy is going to be the sleeping bag that you're going to sleep in. You want to make sure that the sleeping bag is rated to the temperature of the environment that you're going to be sleeping in. So if it's going to be pretty warm, there's a lot of leeway. But here, even here in the UK during the summer, we can have fairly cold nights. And the last thing you want is to have a freezing night in your tent. You're going to be miserable, and it's going to put you off from doing something that's a really enjoyable activity. So that is one thing to watch out for. And also look at the size of the sleeping bag. A lot of people they'll just pick up a sleeping bag, they'll get home, they'll get in it, and it's too tight or it's way too big. So, and you can pay, there is a massive variance in price. You can pay anything from like less than a tenner all the way to several £100 for a sleeping bag. So just buy the best one for the environment that you're going to be in, and your pocket. Your next thing to consider will be, after your sleeping bag and your tent, is a roll mat, or well, a sleeping mat, something that you're going to sleep on in your sleeping bag, that will give you added insulation from the ground. And again, like sleeping bags, you can, big price range. You can spend, I've seen some from about, in fact I've seen some in Poundland before for £1. They're really thin. In summer, back end of summer, they're going to be fine, to be fair. and then you can, you know, go all the way up to like things like a thermarest, which I personally use. I also use the cheap roll mats, the army style ones, you know. So your next thing is going to be stuff like your stove and the rest of your cook gear. Now, like I said, like with everything else, it comes down to budget. If you're just getting into it, just get something that works. You know, just get a small stove, little gas bottle. You're only really going to need a pot, maybe 2 pots, some sort of cutlery. You can, like say, again, price ranges vary massively. You can go to Poundland and buy a set for like £1 or a couple of quid, you know, some outdoor stores, or you can spend like 20 quid on a titanium spork, for instance. I have got one, don't know what I'm complaining about. But yeah, and then as you progress through, you can spend a little bit more money when you start, you know, when you realise that how much you enjoy this hobby. That's the last thing I would say in terms of basic, and I think it kind of gets overlooked a little bit, is a light source. Now, you can get a head torch, or you can get a lantern. Again, different types of ways of powering them. Battery lanterns, the LED ones, are brilliant. Just have to remember the battery use of it, or you can go for gas ones. You can get liquid fuel ones. I've got a Tilly lamp, which is absolutely amazing. It'll go for 8 hours on 1 tank of fuel when it works. I need to service it. But yeah, that's one thing that you want to consider. In the summer months it's not too bad, because obviously it's later when the sun sets, but as you either earlier in the year or a bit later in the year, obviously it gets darker sooner, so you might need a bit of light. But a head torch, I would say, is essential, especially if you need to rummage around in your bag to try and find something. So apart from maybe a rucksack to put that stuff in, but then again, if you're going on a campsite, you don't even really need a rucksack. You can just throw it all in the back of your car. That's kind of it. That's, you know, that's the basics. Now it's when you're going on from there and you've decided, oh yeah, I actually enjoy this, I want to do it a bit more often, I want to do this wild camping thing that people or my mate keeps saying about, and that's when things start kicking up a bit of a gear. So when it comes to wild camping, you want to be a little bit more conspicuous. You may want a fire. So at this point, this is when you start doing your research and you look for somewhere to go wild camping. And that first time that you go wild camping can really define whether you're going to do it again or not. And like I said, that boils down to your research. So what do I mean by research? Well, that's where you're going to go camping for like a wild camp for the first time, and this is really important. One, you want to make sure that you can either get away with where you're planning to do your first wild camp, because I don't think very few of us will get permission to go wild camping for the very first time. There are a few places where you can do that, get a permit. Some places in Wales and Dartmoor, I think Exmoor as well, possibly, but then you've got the whole of Scotland. So what I would do is I would look at maps. I'd look at probably maybe Google Maps to start with, but then I'd get up an OS Ranger map as well, and then look at various footpaths that run around and try and find somewhere that's a little bit tucked away. But I would also highly recommend that you stay local. So if you feel that you're bedded down and the animals are making noises, or the strange noises around you, and you don't know what they are, and you get freaked out, you haven't got a long way to pack up and go home. In some cases, you could even leave your kit there, go home, come back the next day and retrieve your kit. As long as you retrieve your kit, that's okay. And then as time goes on and you become more confident, you can then start going further away, maybe jumping in the car, go to Wales or Scotland. You might go into a forest where you may have to trek for several hours, get off the beaten track, or over moorland. And that's when you definitely do need to spend a little bit more money on kit. Make sure it's well rated for the environment that you're going to be in. And yeah, but apart from that, the basics, once you've got the basic kit and you understand the fundamentals of how that works, the rest becomes relatively easy, and it's down to you to gain the experience and the knowledge. You can go on, there's loads of courses for the outdoors you can go on. There's bushcraft courses, there's mountaineering, there's outdoor first aid if you really wanted to. In fact, I need to redo my outdoor activity first aid. I believe that is expiring soon. So my last tip would be, enjoy yourself. That's the main reason why you're going out. Enjoy yourself, take away those memories, and yeah, being out in the outdoors, in nature, it's good for your mind, and it certainly helps me get through the mundane of life. I'm sure it does plenty other people. There's nothing better than getting out, chilling out in nature, waking up in the morning, the sun's up, and you're already in the outdoors. To me, you can't beat that. And but yeah, so yeah, this video is slightly more aimed at the beginner, people who are coming into thinking about doing camping and wild camping, and maybe want to progress on from there. But hopefully you might have taken something away from it yourself if you are more experienced. So anyway, it's getting a bit windy. There's a storm coming in. I can't remember calling it. Kind of come a little bit out of the blue. Now I've got to try and navigate this, because I want a view of a waterfall that I can even hear from here. But there, that is pretty much it, guys, for this. There we go, get through there, wasn't too bad. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. Stay safe, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye for now. Wow. And this is before we get 8 inches of rain in less than 24 hours. I think there might be some flooding.